to you again. I don't know if you remember, but you wouldn't, because interviews over a certain amount of years no doubt pile up, but we spoke around Ron's release date back in 2022, so it's a real pleasure to speak to you again. How are you?
Yeah, it's very nice to be back. So much happened in these 2 years, so it's very cool to share all of that now, and I'm doing good. Today we
Yeah.
release a new single. Today we release Dream State, and yeah, I'm very, very excited for the reactions later on.
2 years. Sum it up. Can you even begin to sum it up in words? The whirlwind. What has been the last 2 years?
Not really, because it's just been over our expectations, I think. The tours we had and also the reactions we had online, it just all grew, and that's such a nice feeling to see that it keeps growing and all this work keeps paying off. And I think that's what every band really wishes for. And it's just, yeah, we're just so lucky with many things that happened to us. For example, this tour with Electric Cowboy we had, which
Ooh.
was an arena tour, a lot of arena shows, and yeah, that was just something some people never even experienced. So I'm very, very grateful for what we've been through. Yeah.
The train keeps on rolling on and it continues to pick up speed because, of course, we're on the road as well to a very important date, September 6th, specifically, and the release of your new album, Distortion, out
hmm
via Rising Empire. Obviously, it's a long and winding road. There's a lot to do along the way. What currently, right now, is keeping you busy?
Um, right now, I mean, it was all such a last second finish, this album. So we finished it this year, just a few months ago. Actually, just this Monday, we still did revisions on the music video that's coming out now. And the next one is also still, we haven't seen it yet, so we're actually still working on it. It's the music is finished, but the entire thing isn't 100% finished yet until everything will be released. So yeah, that's still kind of where we're in. We're still very fresh and new with this album. Just finished recording, I think, in February. So yeah, in April, May, we recorded all the videos and did promo shootings for the photos, and album artwork was also done this year. And we already started playing festivals, so yeah, we're already doing all that at the same time.
A lot of plates spinning.
Yeah.
Stressful or fun or a bit of both?
I think always a bit of both. It's always, of course, not easy, and it's a lot of work, and especially this album was very, very stressful for me personally. And I'll probably have to talk about this every interview, even though it's kind of boring. But I had a wisdom tooth that was coming out right after a headline tour last year in December. And we had to start recording January. So there was no time really for me to have a break much.
Mm.
And this infection got very, very bad. I couldn't even open my mouth. So I had to get like a emergency surgery one day before New Year's Eve. So I had a very great New Year's Eve, you can imagine. And we had to delay the entire studio thing for 1 or 2 weeks because I couldn't open my jaw.
Mm.
And so that was so stressful. Also, me mentally, I was very like struggling quite a bit from like, I think, burnout, depression, all of that, because it's stressful. And
Yeah.
but I knew this album had to be done, and I already delayed it quite a bit because of many reasons. And then in the studio it was just 200% work. And in the studio, finally, I got another infection, which was a root canal infection of the next tooth, and I was on antibiotics. And I knew that the day I would go out of the studio, I would have to get the next dentist appointment for the root canal treatment. And yeah, after that, we straight had to go to music video shoots, and then we had the American Festival. So from just saying that, I think you can imagine how stressful that is. And yeah, but it's also fun because I
Mm.
love the creative process. I think almost most. I love being live, of course, having shows. But to me, I'm a very creative person, and I enjoy writing and creating concepts for music videos and the artwork. so much because it gives me so much in return. I can just let all of these emotions out, and yeah, also fun.
Incredible. Yeah, incredible. I'm so glad that that period is behind you at least, and that you're able to at least reflect on it, and I guess smile and laugh about the incredible series of events that occurred
Oh,
over that period.
it's still happening. It's ironic because I have to keep talking about this, but we now play festivals every weekend, and I have 2 weeks off, and I have to get another wisdom tooth surgery. And after that, we go straight to Finland for the next festival. So this year is cursed and blessed at the same time.
Ooh, such
I'm
is
right in it.
life.
Yes, exactly.
Well, happily, as of right now, we've had a taster of the new album as well with the Echoes of Disparity.
Hmm.
Massive positive reaction to it. Are you pleased with how that song went down with everyone?
I'm surprised you say that you have a positive, or that you think it has a positive
Ooh.
reaction. It does have a lot of positive comments and more of them than negative, but we have never received that much hate for a song ever. So much homophobic comments, so many anti-women comments, like, ah, you woke feminist band, another band to drop, not gonna see them anymore. And I knew the song was important to do and to make. And it was, for me personally, I always wanted to write a song like this. And I thought, yeah, it is needed. But I didn't know it was that needed. I didn't
Hmm.
know that many people would be against it. So I was ready for receiving some contra for this video and for the song. But I don't know, I was still kind of disappointed in how many people still exist that really like hate other humans for just being different and fighting for their rights and stuff. I just don't get it.
You're absolutely right. I mean, unfortunately, we're all too aware of that side of the reaction. Try not
Mhm.
to focus too much on it because ultimately there are
Yeah,
huge number of people absolutely loving the song, loving what it stands
true.
for, loving the video, and so on. That the even given even given words, wasting words on the negative, the horrible side of people feels like a
Yeah.
waste. Do you feel, I guess speaking about that, do you feel stronger now to be able to handle that, like that level of hate?
Um, I think actually I feel good for receiving hate because, well, not really good for receiving hate, but it
What do you mean?
means that we are standing for something. We're standing up
Mm.
for something. We're supporting something and giving it a voice. And to me, that says, okay, this was the right thing to do. Because if you just play quietly and be very likable for everyone, I think you're not really showing your true self a lot of times. And I was noticing that people don't get who we are. I thought people would logically understand that we are very tolerant, very open minded. That's what we always been. And to me, I was like, okay, that was very good because now people know more who we are and have to confront themselves with it. So to me, it's like a positive kind of hate, if that makes sense. Because if people hate that, then they are not fitting for us as a band, or they need to kind of change their way of thinking or start maybe discussing and be more open-minded. And I've done YouTube since I'm like 14. So I am so familiar with people hating on me and having bad comments. I'm familiar with that. But yeah, it's more like a positive kind of way for me. It shows me I'm doing something right, I think. Or we
Yeah,
are.
and, I 100% agree, and it is an absolutely fabulous track. I won't hear anyone say
Thanks.
anything otherwise, particularly as well because obviously it features Charlie Rolfe of As
Hmm.
Everything Unfolds,
Yes.
incredible artist. How did that collaboration come about? Was it an easy thing?
It was actually a very natural thing because usually, it's kind of weird, this feature theme, this feature business, I would say. I get it because artists are so busy, and doing features is just like a side thing, side business, side hustle for many people.
Of course.
And we didn't do features for the last album. We were kind of out of it. We kind of wanted to do something just by ourselves. But when I heard this demo, or when I had the idea of the song, I knew 100% this is supposed to be a feature song. I already wrote it right away, like this, and I knew I wanted a female singer on there. Back then I didn't know who it would be. I had many different ideas, and I originally wanted to have like a kind of girl group thing happening. But it was just all so hectic from what I've just said. We were so under time pressure and everything. And then we got in contact with Charlie through Instagram, or I got in contact with her almost at the same time that we wrote that song. And she was also on that Electric Callboy tour in the UK, but we've never met in person ever. But I often heard of her band. People would often ask us if we know them, because I think we do have some similarities for many people. She screams. We have similar like aesthetics, and so I was aware of them. And we started just chatting on Instagram. I don't even know how it had happened, but I think she saw us live with Electric Callboy once, and I invited her for a headline tour in the UK, but sadly she was sick and couldn't join. And so I was like, wait, actually, we are already in contact and that would be such a good fit. So let's go together. And we already talked through Instagram about like some experiences we had as a female artist in this industry. And yeah, we just got along so well. And it felt like having a new friend kind of right away. So I really felt very good about doing this with her together. And I really love how it turned out.
Oh, it turned out fantastic. And I love that it didn't come about as much like from a business perspective, you know,
Yeah.
let's get the labels and talk business and contracts and stuff. And it actually, as you said, friends first, and then let's do something together.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's very cool, yeah, because now we
It
just
is.
chat, and I'm very excited we will meet them this weekend for the first time. So very looking forward to this.
Fantastic. It's great to hear. As you already said as well, you know, the journey, we talked about the journey to a release of an album. It comes with multiple stops. And as of the time of recording today, you said already, but let's go into it now. Dream State is released later on this evening. Give me a little bit of insight into this track and what it's saying.
This track is pretty different from the last release. Also very different feeling. It's more slow, more heavy. And I think this last track, like The Echoes of Disparity, was very aggressive. While this song, it has aggressiveness in it, but it's representing weakness. And it has this dream topic of how you would rather fall asleep and never wake up again and just stay in this dream world. From what I've just mentioned, I had so much pressure and I felt very burnt out from all these years now of touring and also still working like a normal job on the side and on the road and never really having vacation. And it is tough to get to that point to actually live from this and to actually just working towards this is very hard. And I will say that to everyone. It is not as romantic as people think and as rock and roll. But yeah, that's exactly what the song is about. The moment when I've written it, I was just sitting here like, how am I supposed to finish this album? I am in pain. I am exhausted. My private life is also quite exhausting. And I oftentimes also on tour noticed how I would just love to stay in my bunk and just not get up, even though I love music and I live for music. But even though I love it, that my body oftentimes would just say, no, you have to like stay to the bed and sleep and you have no power left. And that's exactly what the song is about and how, yeah, the feeling should be when you listen to it.
It is incredibly relatable because it really, I don't think it matters really what you do in life, whether you're a musician, an artist, or you're just living life, working as someone. Burnout affects us all. And certainly the struggle to sometimes get out of bed in the morning, certainly something very relatable.
Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned messing with the video at the last minute. Why was that necessary?
Well, many reasons. I will just talk about myself. I'm not gonna judge anyone with like deadlines and stuff. But we had some deadline issues with this album with people we've worked with, not gonna lie, and I'm not gonna judge them because myself, it started with me delaying the entire demos because I felt too weak this time, to be honest, and my head was so full and all I had to do is do the bare minimum to function. And so I was like, okay, also I think I have ADHD, but it's undiagnosed. So people like that tend to push something so far away until it's like very important to do it, and then you suddenly have the motivation, like you need some fire to finish stuff. And that's what happened with the album, because it was December and I was like, okay, I have to finish 10 songs now in 1 month. Yeah, let's go. So it started with me and then delaying the studio 2 weeks. In the studio was also stressful, so it was all a combination of what I've just said, like my mental state plus my physical state plus the people we've worked with also being very, very full and almost burnt out, I would say. So everyone was very at their limits, but I think it somehow added to the album.
Yeah.
And I think, I hope maybe the people we worked with could relate with some songs here and there, because it is a similar experience we've all been through. And yeah, so that's kind of the reason. But the time plan originally would have been kind of okay. But yeah, the reality of being a human is different.
That's it, isn't it? It is just human stuff getting in the way of it, of these plans. It happens to literally everyone. You just got to adapt.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's look at the album as a whole, from a creative standpoint. What was different this time compared to Run from the writing process?
Well, first of all, more pressure, less it's more compact. It's most of it was done in 1 month, not all of it. For example, the song Uncontrolled was written a year ago or even 2 years ago together with Malphus. So we still had that. A few instrumentals were also already pretty old, but I couldn't really work with them. I was also in such a weird mind. I think it's a lot of difference with personal growth, which is the difference with the albums, because it is a representation of who we are as people, and it's kind of like a time capsule, yeah, like where are you at in life right now.
Yep.
And with Run, I was so like hopeful and kind of like I knew like, oh, if this music thing starts to work more, I will be healed, kind of, even though I knew that's not true. And Distortion is written more in the presence of like what it's actually like working as a musician and still dealing with so much mental baggage and problems and keep going and keep going. And a lot of songs are also about the experience of touring and your thought process, what it's like being on these big shows and kind of starting doubting yourself, your own skills, your own decisions and stuff like that. And yeah, I think that's all kind of in this album as well, because yeah, I oftentimes doubted myself because I felt so burned out, which is now better again. So yeah, that was kind of the process. I think it's more present.
Well, I don't think imposter syndrome ever really goes away. It's like a flow thing, really, isn't it? Sometimes it's at its worst, sometimes it's passable. You can just get on with it.
Yeah, I think it's worse when you feel worse. Then it just gets, yeah.
Totally understand that. Considering how much is in this album, like from feelings, from thoughts, from experiences, did you have any difficulties, particularly earlier on, in ordering your thoughts to create an album out of this, let's be honest, mess?
Yeah, I mean, usually it's a mess. Not gonna lie, it's always been my emotions like a diary kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think the recent albums have just been more past related. They were talking a lot about, my past, how I grew up, family, and all that stuff. And this time it was more close to my reality right now. So even more personal, maybe even. But I don't even know. I don't even really like when I look back to myself from December, I don't even know who I was and how I finished that, to be honest. It's that weird, like not manic thing, but sometimes you just have a switch in yourself and you just function suddenly. And my creativeness just evolved within this month, because I started once I overcame this wall, this blockage, or whatever you say, this blockade. What is the English word? I don't know right now. My creativity was very blocked for quite a long time, and once I started opening this gate, it all flowed very nicely. And that's just how I wrote this album, or the lyrics and the melodies from that wave that came in. And I was very thankful that it finally came. And yeah, it's kind of, I cannot even like really explain how that works. It's weird. It's kind of magical somehow.
It is that, isn't it?
Yeah.
You use blockade. I almost picture a dam that's a leaking dam,
Yeah.
and then inevitably it breaks and the water comes flooding out and it's washing away everything.
Yeah. And I
But were
also,
you,
oh,
sorry.
sorry. I also had a conflict with myself with this last year before I started writing. So things that blocked me were things like, what do I even want to do musically? Do I still want to scream? What do I want to do? Do I want to do something different maybe? And I had so many thoughts that kept blocking me. And at that moment when I knew I have to write, tried to stop overthinking and just did it. And that's kind of what helped it. I just stopped these many thoughts I had and tried to perfect and all of that. I just started creating, and that made the flow happen.
But
If that makes sense.
inevitably, yeah, absolutely. But inevitably, alongside that, I mean, you are forced, whether you like it or not, to sometimes stop and think and focus on specific things to create an album. Ultimately, whether it be the number of tracks you need, artwork, all of this, and so on. Were you? What I want to kind of dig into is creating the follow-up to Run. Were you actively conscious of not basically just doing Run Part 2 musically, and doing something that will not just different, but will be challenging for you this time round?
Yeah, I mean, we grew so much as people and musicians, and we had so much more life experience, and we all got to know ourselves better. Me with my vocals, and a lot of stuff influenced the writing process this time. Because I
Mm.
think with Run, my mind was more like, I want to present the world what I can do, how high I can sing, that I can shout. And I was very loud, I think, on this album. I really wanted this so much and wanted to show off as much as I could. And this time, I didn't think of that at all. So I even had discussions with the producers like, can you guys please do at least one typical Future Palace song, like one high chorus, like the stuff people love? And I'm like, I don't care about that. And also we had this pressure of like, this is your third album, this has to be your breakthrough album. And I was like,
Mm.
please, please, like, no, I cannot even get into this mindset, because if I start thinking this way, it won't work for me. I do music differently. I cannot sit down and say I'm gonna write a hit now. That's not how it works for me.
Yeah.
It has to all align, the instrumental, the emotion, the message. It has to come naturally, and then the producers can add their stuff and recommend to maybe raise the key. We did that for a few songs, and they were like, "Come on, let's raise it a little bit higher, so it sounds a bit more powerful." But I was like, why do I have to be like this typical radio rock band? Why does it have to sound like that? Why is a good song only a good song if it's like very skilled with all of that? I focus
Mm.
way more on the feelings, I think even way more than last time. And we also discussed a bit more with the producers this time. Like, no, this specific sound is what we want. This weird techno thing should happen there. And we even have this one song, They Take What They Want. It's about war and narcissism, and it's written out of a totally different perspective, which I think I've never done until now.
Okay.
And it's a pretty, like, I think artistic song for what we've ever done, because it's more of a storytelling. It doesn't have a chorus or anything. You couldn't use it as a single, really. And our producer was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with the song? And we're like, well, be able to convey the feeling of what we're trying to do. It's not supposed to be a rock single or anything. It's supposed to convey the feeling of this anger, of this distorted view of someone who thinks they need all the power in the world and own everything. And I think that kind of sums it up. That was my mindset. Like, the emotions are the main focus and the feeling.
Do you feel like you were fighting a lot of battles with others, and maybe even internally to some degree, to express exactly who Future Palace are and were in 2024 on this album?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, we've been working with our producer. We have like two main producers
Of course.
from Sawdust Recordings. They've been working with us since song one, since Maybe. And for them, it's always also a surprise, like what we come up with, what kind of demos we bring. And they were like, okay, all right. They kind of struggle with some songs, as I said, as like,
Mm.
okay, this doesn't sound like a typical Future Palace song to us. And we are like, Future Palace is changing all the time. Future Palace
Yes.
is not that one thing. And Future Palace is not the most successful song we have.
Mm.
Never. It could be like this. We could write songs like this over and over again, but I think that's not doing art. That's not being an artist, that's being a company. I'm not gonna, I don't want to roast anyone, but I'm not like that, and that's not why I do music. And I want to do things that are challenging for me and that are interesting for me, also as a listener. And I think that's very cool because Emmanuel, our guitarist and also who does the instrumentals, is very similar in that
Mm.
case because he's very open-minded. He loves listening to different genres, and he's been listening to hard techno quite a bit for this album. And I was like, yeah, that's cool because without talking to each other, which happens quite often, we had a similar idea because I was like, I'm kind of into this dark disco idea and like a very depressed kind of disco energy. I
Mm.
cannot even explain. And that's all we talked about. Like, we didn't even talk about genres much, but like the feeling is supposed to be like being in this dark underground techno disco, which is like very sad. And I think that's kind of what this album also ended up being like, kind of. And yeah, it was fun to kind of talk to Chris, for example, to for this one song, Into Deep, and it has like real like techno influences. And I actually had one inspiration from Scooter. I'm not sure if you know him in the UK, HB Baxter. He's a German
Okay.
artist. Do you know Scooter? You have to check him out. He's very, it's
Mm.
funny. He's like a, I don't know what it is, like techno icon for years. He has like very bleached blonde hair, which is gelled up. And he has one
Okay.
song like, How Much the Fish? Poots, poots, poots. So it's like so far away from what we do. And I'm like, I want the intro to sound like Scooter. And he's like, what? And then we open a Scooter song like poots, poots. And it's so different from all our songs, but he got it. He's like, okay, if you want that, we're gonna make your vocals sound like that. Okay. And yeah, I was also surprised by how he could adapt to our ideas because I think we
Mm.
sometimes, he doesn't say, we didn't talk too much about it, but maybe we push him out of his comfort zone sometimes. And he might be scared that we're creating pure shit, I think sometimes. And he'd be like, what are they up to now? But I always like how it turns out. And yeah, I'm very happy with the album. Yeah.
I think fans of Future Palace, those that have been there from the beginning, would be very disappointed if you had just come out and done Run Part 2. Don't get me wrong, it
Mm,
probably would have been a fantastic album nonetheless.
yeah.
But to not see you evolve, particularly after the past couple of years of you doing so much, the
Mm.
idea is you would evolve, you will learn stuff, and you will come up and with fresh ideas. So I think
Yeah.
most people will be very happy to hear that's the case.
Yeah, I hope the people can hear the difference because that's my biggest enemy is standing still. I'm
Mm.
such a, as my entire being, I'm such a fast person. I love change. I love trying out things and I love challenging myself. And as I said, to me, that's part of being an artist and being creative is being open and trying out many things and like cooking. Like, why would you always cook the same recipe if you could add a new flavor, a new spice, you know? And that's the fun of it. Even if sometimes some meals taste like poop when you do add some sugar and but I think that's the fun of it. And I try to have fun with this again because it can tend to be more of a business thing. It can happen that you are more focused on what is going to be a good single, how is it going to sell. But I was like, I am not. I can be a businesswoman, but I want to be an artist right now. And I want to have fun while doing this. And I had fun, and we had fun creating these songs. Yeah.
Well, on that then, considering we have gone through a lot of the challenges that came from the overall record creation, when you reflect on the entire period, as recent as it is, what will be your overriding memory from a positive perspective?
I'm in a very different state when I'm in the studio. Um, it is, I have to say, one of the very positive things is more like human wise, because we
Mm.
also started working with Julia Broika at the end of the album. He's done like, I think 4 songs. He's done Rays of Light, The Carabia, A Fool on the Devil's Reigns, and I think one more, but I forgot it right now. I'm very sorry.
It's all right.
Um, I'm sorry for him for forgetting, but you can check it out on Spotify and stuff. And it was just such a difference working with him because he was so open and motivated. Because we started working with Chris, and I think we were all very under stress, and you could tell he's also very under stress right now. And it was more a very tight and very pressured, and the feeling was just different, which isn't too bad, but it was more like work and more like overthinking, and which was kind of good for the songs though. And with Julian, it was more like, whoa, let's have fun and let's try to make cool songs. And yeah, like the vibe was just different, and it helped me personally because I don't know. In the first week of being in the studio, I'm gonna be real. That's what mental illness is. Maybe I was like, I'm gonna quit all of this. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave the band and stop doing all of this. And I don't even know what happened specifically that made me think this way. But at the end of the studio, I was like, I love this. That's what I'm here for. That's what I live for. And I think that was the most beautiful moment for me because it gave me fire again. It gave me, I cannot even explain what exactly happened, but it was the combination of the three of us. And also we did songs. That one song, Decorabia, is my, I think, favorite song of the album. And we've done it together with him. And he's just been doing so many jokes while doing it. So he kind of just cheered us up, and we were already so overworked, and it just helped to just relieve and have fun while doing it. And that was my favorite memory, I think. Just laughing so much in the studio.
It is great to hear because it is such a stressful process, and there's so many demands upon you as an artist, as a musician, not just from like yourselves, but from outside, from listeners who are expecting this and expecting that, labels and so on. So it's great that you're able to look and point at things that you did thoroughly enjoy. Because as of right now, obviously, we have got a few months to wait. You mentioned before, like right at the start, like really enjoying other aspects of the creative process, videos and aspects like that. So what do you get personally from those other parts of creating Future Palace stuff, like whether it be artwork, videos, and so on?
I think, I don't know, I am equally a singer as I am like a graphic person. And so that both lives in me and always has. So it's equally important to me. And I just love doing photos and videos and drawing and all that stuff. And yeah, as I always say, I would love to do even bigger stuff and crazier stuff all the time. And I already had all these pictures in my mind when I just wrote these songs and listened to the demos. It just always comes hand in hand. And I always can't even wait to do the videos to show people like the real feeling it's supposed to give you. And this time we worked again with Pavel. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Trebokin, I'm not sure. Yeah, he's done like very great work with Imminence, and yeah, I mean, saying Imminence already is good enough because the videos are insane, like movies, not even videos. They have movies, I think, and so I was excited for that because we haven't been working with him since Paradise, Heads Up, and all these videos. So a few years have passed, and we met again with our new skills, I would say, and new ideas. And flying to Latvia was also very cool because we've never been there. And we had so much more options. We had a crew and stuff. And he really, really tried his best to get it was my ideas most of the time to life. And he really made sure to involve me and listen to me and check the mood boards. And I just really enjoyed that. And also while being on set, he always talked more to me than the guys, but they knew Maria has her idea, and we already said yes to the idea. So we're gonna give her space. And then we would run around in the location, check some shots, check perspectives and cameras. And it was just so much fun to me. Yeah, I just really enjoyed it this time.
You felt like your vision was realized.
Yeah, I think this time closer than a lot of times before. And as I said, he tried to really get as close as possible. And also with the editing later on and even the grading, that I did later. I didn't do the grading, but he would do a first version, and then we would talk about the colors, how they should change, and he would just do it. So he really gave us this freedom for our ideas. And yeah, especially like Dream State today, yeah, you can see, I think, that it has a lot of ideas of me, because when you see other works of him, they look kind of different. And it's very interesting for me to see when a person works with different bands, how different it can look because of their influence. But yeah, it worked well this time.
In an ideal world, if you had this option, if you had the option to effectively tell a creative story around every single track in the album, either in video form or perhaps in art form or even in another different format, would you take that opportunity?
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
love to. I think of that a lot of times. Like, how can you even expand beyond like music videos, or maybe having a game, an
Mm.
interaction with people, or maybe like I tried on tour as well. I want to have more of a theater experience than a typical concert. And with the last tour we had, our headline tour for Run, for the album, it was just, yeah, the end of last year. We had like, I also do mostly the stage ideas, like the
Yeah.
decoration and the interlude ideas, and I wanted it to be like a story, representing the album like a, as I said, theater thing. So we had interludes of talking about the lyrics more and how it feels, and having different chapters of emotions, and having leaves as decoration everywhere. And I even wanted to go so far and bring a diffuser with forest smell, which I couldn't find on tour. I was very sad because I want everyone to be in there 500%. And
Mm.
I would love to go as far as you can for getting people into like a different world. I love it myself when someone does it well. It's so magical. It's very cool to like teleport away.
What's limiting that at this point?
Money.
Ah, yes,
Money,
obviously.
money, money, money. I mean, money and time, and also sometimes I think the power, because what we do right now, as I just said, it's already hard enough to do all of this right now. And a lot of things could be done maybe, and then you would have to plan it months ahead. And
Mhm.
for me, I'm very energy dependent. So sometimes I have high energy, sometimes I have none at all. And it's like this. And sometimes I'm very angry at myself because I was like, if I would be a more functioning person, I could do so much
Mm.
more. I would have so much greater things. And maybe I would just sit down for like 2 weeks and start building that stuff myself instead of paying someone, that's kind of stuff. But right now I do what I can. And so it's both of that. It's like power, energy, time, and money, mostly money.
Isn't it always, sadly?
Yeah. But this time more happened than we could ever make happen. Like we had cool wings, we had a prison that we did, we had dancer, actors, we had a old church looking like thing and an old disco. So I'm very pleased this time that we could do so much. And I also did all these outfits, and actually most of it worked, and most of it is very close to what I had on my mind and on my mind. So it feels nice to see that your ideas don't suck when they come to life.
Always a positive. It's incredible. So we still got a couple of months to actually go before this full album is out, and people can hear it. Lots of stops along the way, and no doubt a very busy 12 months, 2 years after its release as well. Maria,
Hmm.
I was going to ask you one more question, and it's simply this: it's the record overall. What does it mean to you to get this out?
Mean?
Mm.
Um, I don't know. It just kind of actually just surprised me that I was able to do this.
Yeah.
I keep. It sounds so dramatic. Like I have a normal life still, but I always kind of surprise myself with still getting the power to finish something. And this time it was closer than ever for me in my mind that I will not be able to do this and that I have no
Mm.
power left. And I am just very, very relieved and happy, and even happy with how it turned out. Like almost happier than even last time, because I feel like we've become more of a band. we know more who we are. And this entire album has much more of a concept visually, also musically. And I think it's a just great representation of who we are right now. And yeah, so it's just, I think I'm just a little proud, yeah.
It's fabulous to hear proud, and I love the fact that you've already told me how late everything kind of came, the writing and so on. So when you say to me, "Oh, it represents who we are right now," yeah, it clearly does, because a lot of the stuff you say isn't years old.
Yeah.
It is Distortion. It is out September 6th via Horizon Empire. Maria, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was very fun.
Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website, where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at GBHBL. Just search for GBHBL and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.